feeling a deja vu there. Maybe I'll play something else other than A Link Between Worlds. Actually, what happened to that box of N64 games I was given? Do this. Look at that. That's convenient. Let's see now. Oh, Ocarina of Time, classic game, love it. Donkey Kong 64, never played it, could be interesting. Let's see how it goes. Pokemon Snap, really? Suppose I can't judge it, I've never played it, so... Actually, I'm sat here talking to myself, who's going to know? It looks like an absolute pile of shit. Ooh, Castlevania. Nice. Love that. Nostalgia overload. As you probably know, I'm a massive Legend of Zelda fan, but there was one game on the N64 that was pretty much what you'd get if Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64 had a love child together, and I loved it. Mystical Ninja Starring Goemon, at least I think that's how it's pronounced. There was a lot of stuff that made the game one of a kind, but it is what made the game unique and fun back in 1998 when the game was released, enough to make it unique and fun all these years later. Apparently, the Goemon game series, developed by Konami, has been going since 1986, but most games have not been released outside of Japan. The titular character, Goemon, is loosely based on Ishikawa Goemon, a Japanese outlaw from the late 1500s who was pretty much Robin Hood, as he robbed from the rich to give to the poor, until 1594 when he and his son were executed by being boiled alive. This game doesn't revolve around any real tale from Ishikawa's life, though the story of the game is kind of unusual. Goemon and his friend Ebisu are shopping in a nice peaceful town until a peach-shaped ship comes out of nowhere and heads for the castle and fires lasers upon it. They investigate the castle but are attacked by strange robots that have appeared in the castle. After battling their way past the robots and traversing the castle, they find Baron, who tells them why they attacked the castle. Could they be wanting to kill anyone in a position of power so they can rule Japan themselves? Is it a kidnapping scheme to extort money from the government, possibly with the grander plan of causing economic collapse? No, they want to turn the castle into a theatrical stage. Seriously, that's what this game is about. There's a group of people called the Peach Mountain Shoguns, led by Spring Breeze Dancing and Kitty Lily, who want to turn all of Japan into a giant stage with the citizens as their loyal dancers, and you have to stop them. It's possibly one of the weirdest plots ever, but of course, there are a lot of obstacles to overcome. Now I know what you're thinking, how is a game about people wanting to turn Japan into a stage like a Zelda game? Well, let's see if this sounds familiar. Start in a town, speak to a few people, do some stuff, enter level, beat boss, collect MacGuffin, go to new town, do some stuff, find a level, beat the boss, collect a MacGuffin, repeat a few more times, and then use the MacGuffins to get to the final areas and have a showdown with the bad guys. There are even silver fortune dolls scattered around that increase your health if you collect 4 of them, as well as gold ones that automatically increase your health, which is represented by hearts. If that's not ripping off Zelda, I don't know what is. So what crazy stuff happens that separate it from Zelda? Well, to start off, as you're wandering around, it's always good to talk to people or animals to see what's going on and get hints on what you need to do. Sometimes what they say is brilliant. In the first town there are 2 guards that won't let you through until you get the super pass, which is obtained after the first stage. The guards then talk about how they wish the game starred them rather than Goemon, so they'd have a larger role, and how depressing it is that all they'll now do is stand there until you finish the game. There's one other I have to talk about. There's a guard blocking your path, are you seeing a pattern here, called Benkai, who collects unique treasures, but won't let you pass unless you give him something to add to his collection. You don't have anything, so after a spot of, can this be considered fishing? I don't know, anyway, after doing it you find out how to beat Benkai in combat and then head for the epic showdown. Okay, so you just have to throw logs at him known as Achilles' heels, which I guess is kind of funny, but he wants you to keep defeating him a secret so it doesn't tarnish his reputation. In return, he gives you something from his collection which turns out to be Sasuke, a battery-powered ninja robot who is one of the playable characters. It's the description the game gives that's hilarious. What Benkai pulled out was all stiff with batteries almost falling out. They must have known how that sounded when they wrote that. Only one word can be used here.
Giggity.
You get 4 characters you can switch between: Goemon, Ebisu, Yai and Sasuke, who is my favourite and is so awesome he can swim despite being battery powered. I always thought him jumping into water would be more a case of... And then there's Impact, a giant robot that somehow is a huge Hollywood film star. God knows what film he's in, my money's on an iRobot remake. That would actually be really cool. But in Goemon, you use him to fight against other giant-ass robots using sweet combos and shooting Kamehamehas from his mouth, which is so awesome. Unfortunately, you only have 3 fights using him, 4 if you count the 2 final boss forms separately, but I guess it's better to underuse it so you end up wanting more, rather than overuse it and it gets annoying, but an extra fight or 2 would have been fine. One problem that could arise is that each time you summon him you get a song, which although it isn't too bad, would be annoying if you had to listen to it a lot more, as you can't skip the damn thing. 3 times is fine even if the second and third times are fairly close together, so having to sit through it more would be a tad grating. There are 2 other songs sung in the game, one for the title screen intro and one sung by Lillian Dancing, where their henchmen show off some killer dance moves. All the songs are weirdly catchy, but it's almost as though the developers went, "Put the song on our family, but missing one thing, English words."
Don't take a chance.
I promise I'll never try and do a Japanese accent ever again. Thing is, my mind makes random connections, so whenever a certain part of the Impact song comes on, it's a case of...
Don't mind if I do!
Anyway, let's take a butcher's at what you'll be getting up to. As mentioned before, the game takes place in Japan, and fun fact, it's because of this game I found out the tallest mountain in Japan is Mount Fuji, seeing as you have to climb it, which takes around 5-10 minutes, just like real life I'm sure. There isn't much in the way of side quests, but there are random things you need to do, like saving a possessed dragon that's been kidnapping children for dance training. Seriously. There aren't many levels, and neither the levels nor what you have to do between them is particularly difficult. Only one level gave me any real trouble. You find a map in each stage, but it only shows you the rooms you've been to, so getting your bearings and working out where you need to go can be a pain in the arse. Yes, the map has an elephant called Mr. Elephant. It's lame, I know. If you get stuck between stages, there is a fortune teller that will give you hints, but the game isn't that difficult, so you probably won't need to use it all that much, particularly if you speak to people in the towns. It's worth exploring, as you never know what you might come across, though usually it's a fortune doll, but the skills each character can get opens up a lot of places you didn't have access to before, like when Goemon turned Super Saiyan to move heavy blocks. The music is still decent all these years later and has one of the best soundtracks from the N64. My favourite track in the game is still the same one it was. There isn't much in the way of puzzles, it's more to do with platforming and using certain skills and abilities to progress, like Goemon's chain pipe to cross gaps and Ebisu's camera to reveal hidden paths. There are a few things around that might require some thinking, but certainly nothing overly taxing. The main thing that will make the game annoying is the camera, which seems to be working for Dancing and Lily, as it does everything it can to make you fail. Occasionally the camera tries to reset itself but ends up constantly spinning or moving into the wrong place as you try to time jumps properly. When it comes to mastering the camera, you'll have more luck successfully hitting on Emma Watson in a club. The camera's not just a pain when you're trying to do some platforming, but it can also mess you up when you're trying to show the enemies who's boss, though again my mind makes random connections, and with some enemies I took one look and thought, Pokeball, go! And most of the jokes the game throws at you will probably make you go. Playing Goemon after all these years is still a lot of fun. As with most games, it has a few issues and annoying aspects, but the great writing, decent music and surreal stuff going on makes you want to continue, even if it's just to see what weird thing will happen next. Even after all these years, Mystical Ninja Starring Goeman is still... good as gold. Granted, it's not as good as the likes of Ocarina of Time, but it has aged just as well and is still loads of fun to play, just as it was back in the day. See you next time.